Ho, 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 wow. How's life going? Steve Bannon, NBC interview from last year. Why? We were informed by the White House that if Associated Press did not align its editorial standards with President Donald Trump's executive order renaming the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America, the AP would be banned or barred from accessing an event in the Oval Office. All right.
At a high level, if you say what is the goal of Doge and I think a significant part of this of presidency is to restore democracy.
What is this? Is this part of like a larger interview, or is there like a full link to this? Thank you, Lysergic acid.
X, are you okay? This is X, and he's a great guy, high IQ.
Wait, is this the kid that he gave the crazy, bizarre name to or whatever? How come you didn't get in with the rationalists? The talk you had with Eliezer Yudkowsky was pretty neat. I don't know. I think that they're mainly focused on like talking about AI and stuff, and I just don't have as much of an interest there. So the people at the event all seem pretty cool though.
He's a high IQ individual.
And he's got this. Check out this cool chain he's got.
So thank you very much. We had a busy day today. The king just left, and we've had a great discussion, terrific discussion concerning Gaza and everything else. We had discussions also about Saturday at 12 o'clock. It's going to be a big moment. We'll see what happens. I don't expect much happening with these people, but we'll see what happens. And we're going to be signing a very important deal today. It's Doge, and I'm going to ask Elon to tell you a little bit about it and some of the things that we found, which are shocking. Billions and billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse. And I think it's very important. And that's one of the reasons I got elected. I said, we're going to do that. Nobody had any idea it was that bad, that sick, and that corrupt. And it seems hard to believe that judges want to try and stop us from looking for corruption, especially when we found hundreds of millions of dollars worth, much more than that.
For a reminder for anybody that gives a fuck about the constitutional order, Doge is supposed to be refashioned from the USDS, the United States Digital Service. This is where they draw their legitimacy from, and they try to say that Obama started it. He did start the USDS. That's just supposed to be to help offices basically streamline their paperwork process, get stuff like digital ready, like just to basically make systems more efficient. Now, they said on paper that that was supposed to be what they were doing. However, finding waste, fraud, and corruption, that's squarely outside of the realm of just digitally making things better. So the scope of the job is expanded. The legality is not questionable. It's illegal. The mission that Doge has been enacting to go and discover waste, fraud, and abuse in other departments is not something that the executive office of the presidency can be tasked with. It's outside of the role of that office. But just they try to say this. Just remember when you hear this, waste, fraud, and abuse, that's not in the purview of the president to go to every department and discover on his own unilaterally and then to dismantle them if he doesn't like what he finds. But
Especially when we found hundreds of millions of dollars worth, much more than that, in just a short period of time. We want to weed out the corruption, and it seems hard to believe that a judge could say, we don't want you to do that. Well, so maybe we have to look at the judges, because that's a very serious, I think it's a very serious violation. I'll ask Elon Musk to say a few words, and we'll take some questions. Elon, go ahead.
Sure. So at a high level, if you say what is the goal of Doge and I think a significant part of the presidency is to restore democracy. This may seem like, well, aren't we in a democracy? Well, if you don't have a feedback loop, FAX, we would have to, if you it's all right. So, I tell you, gravitas can be difficult sometimes. If there's not a good feedback loop from the people to the government, and if you have rule of the...
Also, just as a quick thing, this is always a, man, fuck, what was I reading the other day? Wait, was this on stream? No, I think this is off stream. There's a strange thing that happens in the United States where two different parties can claim a popular mandate, the president and the Congress, because both are voted on. And some guy theorized that if the United States ran into issues, that it would be because of it would be an issue relating to the fact that the president could claim that he has a mandate from the people because he's got a popular vote that stands in opposition to the mandate that Congress has as like a voted on body of leaders. I only say this because when you hear somebody say that the president is working through the will of the people, like what Elon keeps saying, this is authoritarian speak, that we don't need the Congress, we have the people, right? I feel like every bad guy villain, doesn't Bane say this like a million times in The Dark Knight Rises? The people, we are letting you, the people. It's always, we are authoritarian, but it's okay because we have a mandate from the people to be authoritarian. It doesn't matter if 100% of the country votes on you as president. That doesn't mean that you can just start doing things that aren't in the purview of the executive branch. That's not what that means. From
the people to the government. And if you have rule of the bureaucrat, or if the bureaucracy is in charge, and then what meaning does democracy actually have? If the people cannot vote and have their will be decided by their elected representatives.
Yeah, and then also remember, keep in mind like how fluidly we move from thing to thing. So for the longest of time, before they had the popular vote, we're not a democracy at all. We're a constitutional republic. We don't live in a democracy. This is a constitutional republic. Democracy. But now that Trump won the popular vote, we're a democracy. What do you mean the president can't do whatever he wants? We're a democracy. More people voted for Trump than the other guy, so we're a democracy now. And now the president can do literally whatever he wants. Yeah.
Vote and have their will be decided by their elected representatives in the form of the president and the Senate and the House, then we don't live in a democracy. We live in a bureaucracy. So it's incredibly important that we close that feedback loop, we fix that feedback loop, and that the public's elected representatives, the president, the House, and the Senate, decide what happens, as opposed to a large, unelected bureaucracy. This is not to say that there aren't some good...
All of this ultimately hilarious because Elon is an unelected bureaucrat. That's exactly what he's doing. That's his role right now. Is as an unelected bureaucrat, he's now going through federal agencies and deciding what he wants to keep and what he doesn't want to keep. But okay.
To a large unelected bureaucracy. This is not to say that there aren't some good. There are good people who are in the federal bureaucracy, but you can't have an autonomous federal bureaucracy. You have to have one that is responsive to the people.
We didn't have one, but
that's
okay.
the whole point of a democracy. And so. And if you looked at this, if you asked looked at the founders today and said, what do you think of the way things have turned out? Well, we have this unelected, fourth unconstitutional branch of government, which is the bureaucracy, which has, in a lot of ways, currently more power than any elected representative. And this is...
It's just a fundamental misunderstanding. I mean, like, maybe because he's... because he's not American? Maybe he doesn't know how our government works? I don't know. Do they do this on the citizenship test? Federal offices are authorized by the Congress. Every part of that is constitutional. Federal offices do not have more power than Congress. They have a different type of power, which is the power to execute law from Congress. They literally are created by the Congress. So to say they have more power than the Congress doesn't really make any sense whatsoever, but okay.
This is not something that people want. And it's not, it does not match the will of the people. So it's just something we've got to fix. And then we've also got to address the deficit. So we've got a $2 trillion deficit. And if we don't do something about this deficit, the country's going bankrupt. I mean, it's really astounding that the interest payments alone on the national debt exceed the Defense Department budget, which is shocking because we spend a lot of money on defense. But if that just keeps going, we're essentially going to bankrupt the country. So what I really want to say is, like, it's not optional for us to reduce the federal expenses. It's essential. It's essential for America to remain solvent as a country, and it's essential for America to have the resources necessary to provide things to its citizens and not simply be servicing vast amounts of debt.
And also, could you mention some of the things that your team has found, some of the crazy numbers, including the woman that walked away with about $30 million,
right,
etc.?
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position.
Like this is none of your business. I'm sorry, but so is Doge in charge of investigating the net worth of individuals who work for government now? What does that have to do with anything? It's not in the purview of your job. Wasn't in the purview of the USDS. What is it in the written purview of the Doge authorized by executive order? It's like, what? So if you're a government worker and then you somehow have a high net worth, now you're going to be investigated? What does that mean?
Which is, what happened at USAID. We're just curious as to where it came from. Maybe they're very good at investing, in which case we should take their investment advice, perhaps. But there seems to be mysteriously they get wealthy. We don't know why.
Like, what do you mean? Like, that's none of your business. What do you mean? They mysteriously get wealthier. We don't know why. Who cares? Is there evidence of corruption or something? Why are you even looking at this? Like, what a strange way to evaluate. Like, imagine I'm doing like an audit of my company and I notice, hold on here, Jader Vernanda. Why are you worth so much money? I Googled your net worth and I see you're worth $5 million, but I only pay you guys minimum wage to work on my servers. And it's a low minimum wage too, because those guys are all from Indonesia. How the fuck are you worth so much money? So now I'm going to like publicly announce that there's some full on investigate. Like, this is just wild.
Why? Where does it come from? And I think the reality is that they're getting wealthy at the taxpayer expense.
The reality? I like how he just said, why am I watching this? Like, think about what's being said. So you have a government employee, 6-figure salary. Somehow, I don't even know how, but somehow we know their net worth. Wait, did you Google it or did you see it reported on your fake news platform X? We see on X, people are saying this person's worth a lot of money. Well, the conclusion is obviously they're stealing from the government. How the fuck, you dumb motherfucker? How the fuck did you get to that part? What, excuse me. Can we even get like a shred of evidence of evidence? Like, can we even get like a third order removed indication of some kind of wrongdoing? Or well, like, what are we talking about?
And I think the reality is that they're getting wealthy at the taxpayer expense. That's the honest truth of it. So, you know, we're looking at, say, well, we just, if you look at, say Treasury.
Is he about to start throwing out figures when we have no evidence for anything that's been so far? What the fuck?
For example, basic controls that should be in place, that are in place in any company, such as making sure that any given payment has a payment categorization code, that there is a comment field that describes the payment, and that if a payment is on the do not pay list, that you don't actually pay it. None of those things are true currently. So the reason that departments can't pass audits.
He's saying there was no clear reason for the wealth that they accumulated. It's fair to ask how you attained your wealth. Excuse me, what? In what world? If your boss, first of all, how do they even know? Would be number one. Like, unless an IRS is, like, there's an IRS audit or something because you're not paying your taxes. What do you mean? Why the fuck would they ever even have access to that information? Why should they have, like, what are you talking about? Also, this whole, him pointing out, like, one or two of these random fucking things is so stupid.
Is because the payments don't have a categorization code. It's like just a massive number of blank checks just flying out the building. So you can't reconcile blank checks.
They're public officials, dude. Their financials are all public. No? No. What? You think that just because somebody's a public... Bro, we don't have Trump's taxes. The president of the United States. You motherfuckers were happy with this orange buffoon not even showing you his financial records. And you think that you're entitled to know the financial, like, every single financial aspect of every single public servant?
You've got comment fields that are also blank, so you don't know why the payment was made. And then we've got this truly absurd, a do not pay list, which can take up to a year for an organization to get on a do not pay list. And this, we're talking about terrorist organizations, we're talking about known fraudsters, known aspects of waste, known things that do not match any congressional appropriation, can take up to a year to get on the list. And even once on the list is not used. It's mind-blowing. So what we're talking about here, we're really just talking about...
Any examples, or...?
Adding common sense controls that should be present, that haven't been present. So you say, like, well, how could such a thing arise? That seems crazy. When you understand that really everything is geared towards complaint minimization, so then you understand the motivations. So if people receive money, they don't complain, obviously. But if people don't receive money, they do complain. And the fraudsters complain the loudest and the fastest. So then when you understand that, then it makes sense. Oh, that's why everything just, they approve all the payments at Treasury. Because if you approve all the payments, you don't get complaints. But now we're saying that, no, actually, we are going to complain. If money is spent badly, if your taxpayer dollars are not spent in a sensible and frugal manner, then that's not okay. Your tax dollars need to be spent wisely on things that matter to the people. I mean, these things, like, it's just common sense. It's not draconian or radical, I think. It's really just saying, let's look at each of these expenditures and say, is this actually in the best interest of the people? And if it is, it's approved. If it's not, we should think about it.
Like, he sounds like every single middle manager that software employees used to complain about, where like a guy comes in. Actually, Elon got caught doing this even with Twitter, and he's like, "Hey," and all the devs are like, "What's up?" And he's like, "I was looking at the code earlier," and it's like, "What code?" He's like, "All of it." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "I notice you guys don't have comments on every single line," and it's like, yeah, nobody does that. Well, I read that comments are good, and I think it would be way easier for everybody if you guys made sure that after every line of code you put a comment, just so that we know what every single thing does. Like, this is because I read somewhere also, like, are we on Ruby on Rails yet? I heard that was a good new thing. Like, everything he says just sounds so fucking retarded. It reminds me when he was talking about on Twitter, when he was on a space, and he was like, we need to refactor the whole stack. And then some guy shows up who's, I guess, like an actual software dev. And he's like, hey, what do you mean when you say that? Like, what part of the stack don't you like? And he's like, well, all of it. And the guy's like, well, what's bad about it? And he's like, well, it's got high ping or whatever. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, all of it is the most retarded shit in the world.
So, there's crazy things like just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't. Okay. They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out. So, that's a case where, like, I think they're probably dead. It's my guess. Or they should be very famous, one of the two. And then there's a whole bunch of Social Security payments where there's no identifying information. Well, like, why is there no identifying information?
Like, if you ask these questions, it's also funny when people do that. This is also, like, it's the #1 indicator of a person who is, I would say 65 IQ or lower. Like, they're right at the threshold for autonomous breathing and heart beating. Like, if they were any dumber, they would forget to breathe and die. When somebody will come up and ask a question, has anybody ever asked this thing before? And it's like, actually, yeah, it's like one of the most commonly asked questions ever. Have you never read about that? Like, did you ever ask anybody? Like, people come up like, has anybody ever wondered why this? And it's like, well, you literally have a fucking direct line to the president. Why don't you ask him to ask the people that run these agencies? Like, why not just say, like, hey, why do we have this? Because you know what? There might actually be a really good explanation. Why don't you try that before you go to the public and just start presenting all of these insane conspiracy theories? Like, why not ask a question one time to any of the employees? Maybe?
Obviously, we want to make sure that people who deserve to...
This screams of him not coordinating with anyone at the agency to understand how things work and why they're set up the way. Yeah, because he doesn't. That's not what they're doing. Him and his little crony, little fuck employees are just running into these agencies, and then they're locking everybody out, and then they're putting their dirty, filthy little fucking USB drives into all these systems and sucking out all the info to see what stupid shit he can, shit on Twitter the next day. And then anybody that gets in his way, he emails his little daddy Trump and says, "Can you please fire these people?" And that's basically what they've been doing. They're just run amok.
Obviously, we want to make sure that people who deserve to receive Social Security do receive it, and that they receive it quickly and accurately. I'll tell you another crazy thing. So, one of the things is, like, we are trying to sort of right-size the federal bureaucracy, just make sure that this, obviously, there need to be a lot of people working for the federal government, but not as many as currently. So we're saying, well, okay.
Like, what does that mean? There needs to be a lot of people, but not as many. According to who? According to you? Like, first of all, I don't even know if you're allowed to fire people in the federal government, like the executive branch. I'm not sure if they can, because I think it counts as, is it called downsizing? I don't know if you're actually legally allowed to just start firing a bunch of people in a department, because I think that you're actually mandated by Congress not to do that. You can't just start downsizing an executive agency without authorization. But, like, even with what he's saying, like, there should be a lot of people, but less. How did you even arrive at that conclusion?
Well, if people can retire, with full benefits and everything, that would be good. They can retire, get their retirement payments, everything. And then we were told, this is actually, I think, a great anecdote, because we were told the most number of people that could retire possibly in a month is 10,000. We're like, well, why is that? Well, because all the retirement paperwork is manual on paper. It's manually calculated, then written down on a piece of paper. Then it goes down a mine. And I'm like, what do you mean a mine? Like, yeah, there's a limestone mine where we store all the retirement paperwork. And you look at a picture of this mine. We'll post some pictures afterwards. And this mine looks like something out of the 50s because it was started in 1955. So it looks like it's like a time warp. And then the speed, then the limiting factor is the speed at which the mine shaft elevator can move determines how many people can retire from the federal government. And the elevator breaks down sometimes, and then nobody can retire. Doesn't that sound crazy? There's like 1,000 people that work on this. So I think if we can take those people and say, like, you know what, instead of working in a mine shaft and carrying manila envelopes to boxes in a mine shaft, you could do practically anything else, and you would add to the goods and services of the United States in a more useful way. So anyway, so I think You know, that's an example. Like at a high level, if you say like, how do we increase prosperity? Is we get people to shift from roles that are low to negative productivity to high productivity roles. And so you increase the total output of goods and services, which means that there's a higher standard of living available for everyone. That's the actual goal. Everyone's very quiet, by the way. So, are people normally this quiet?
Your detractors, Mr. Musk.
I have to what?
Including a lot of Democrats.
I have detractors?
You do, sir.
I don't believe it.
Say that you're orchestrating a hostile takeover of government and doing it in a non-transparent way. What's your response to that criticism?
Well, first of all, it's not a hostile takeover of government. We are the government. We were voted on by the people. And transparent. We're the most transparent ever. Don't you see all my tweets every day?
Well, first of all, you couldn't ask for a stronger mandate from the public.
There you go.
The public voted.
Yep, and then do the thing that I tweet every day. Do that one next.
You know, we have a majority of the public voting for President Trump. We've won the House. We won the Senate. The people voted for major government reform. There should be no doubt about that. That was on the campaign. The president spoke about that at every rally. The people voted for major government reform, and that's what the people are going to get. They're going to get what they voted for. And a lot of times, that people that don't
Just to be clear, also, Trump did not win a majority of the vote, but
get what they voted for. But in this presidency, they are going to get what they voted for, and that's what democracy is all about.
Mr. Musk, the White House says that you will identify and excuse yourself from any conflicts of interest that you may have. Does that mean that you are, in effect, policing yourself? What are the checks and balances that are in place to ensure that there is accountability and transparency?
Well, we actually are trying to be as transparent.
I kid. He's got it. No. There's no accountability and transparency. Please do we're super transparent because we post on X all day. Please.
Accountability and transparency.
Well, we actually are trying to be as transparent as possible. In fact, we post our actions to the Doge handle on X and to the Doge website.
Good.
So all of our actions are maximally transparent. In fact, I don't think
so
there's
transparent.
been, I don't know of a case that
Our actions are so transparent. Everything we're tweeting out was already posted on government websites before we took over, Wow.
where an organization has been more transparent than the Doge organization. So, and the kind of things we're doing are, I think, very, very simple and basic. They're not, what I mentioned, for example, about Treasury, just making sure that payments that go out, taxpayer money that goes out, is categorized correctly, that the payment is explained, that organizations on the do not pay list, which takes a lot to get there, that actually are not paid, which currently they are paid. These are not individual judgment decisions. These are about simply having sensible checks and balances in the system itself to ensure that taxpayer money is spent well. So it's got nothing to do with, like, say, a contract with some company of mine at all.
But if there is a conflict of interest when it comes to you yourself, for instance, you've received billions of dollars in federal contracts. When it comes to the Pentagon, for instance, which the president, I know, has directed you to look into.
Yeah.
Are you policing yourself in that? Is there any sort of accountability check and balance in place that would provide any transparency for the American people?
Well, all of our actions are fully public. So if you see anything, you say, like, wait a second, hey, Elon, that seems like maybe that's...
Hypothetically, would you not be concerned if our elected officials were entering office with a relatively small net worth and leaving office with millions of dollars on a salary of $200K? I wouldn't even dignify what a joke question with a response to a group of people who allowed Trump to get into office without ever posting his taxes, and then were screeching as you were smearing shit all over your faces that it was totally acceptable for him to break that norm. So if that was ever a thing to be cared about, you completely and totally kamikaze any sort of public right to demand that sort of thing. So whatever the hypothetical is, I would never, ever, ever answer a buffoon supporter over it, because you guys clearly don't give a fuck. So,
there's a conflict there. It's not like people are going to be shy about saying that. They'll say it immediately,
Including you yourself.
Yes. But transparency is what builds trust, not simply somebody asserting trust. So not somebody saying they're trustworthy, but transparency, so you can see everything that's going on. And then you can see, am I doing something that benefits one of my companies or not? It's totally obvious.
And if we thought that, we would not let him do that segment or look in that area if we thought there was a lack of transparency or a conflict of interest. And we watched that also. He's a big businessman. He's a successful guy. That's why we want him doing this. We don't want an unsuccessful guy doing this. Now, one thing also that Elon hasn't really mentioned are the groups of people that are getting some of these payments. They're ridiculous. And we're talking about billions of dollars that we've already found. We found fraud and abuse. I would say those two words as opposed to the third word that I usually use, but in this case, fraud and abuse. It's abusive because most of these things are virtually made up, or certainly money shouldn't be sent to them. And you know what I'm talking about. It's crazy. So, but we're talking about tens of billions of dollars that we've already found. And now a judge who's an activist judge wants to try and stop us from doing this. Why? Why would they want to do that? I campaigned on this. I campaigned on the fact that I said government is corrupt. And it is very corrupt. It's very, very, it's also foolish. As an example, a man has a contract for 3 months and the contract ends, but they keep paying him for the next 20 years, because nobody ends a contract. You got a lot of that. You have a contract that's a 3-month contract. Now, normally, if you're in a small, in all fairness, it's the size of this thing is so big.
Yeah.
But if you have a contract and you're in a regular business, you end the contract in 3 months. It's a consultant. Here's a contract for 3 months, but it goes on for 20 years. And the guy doesn't say that he got money for 20 years, They don't say it. They just keep getting checks month after month. And you have various things like that, and even much worse than that, actually, much worse. And I guess you call that incompetence, maybe.
Yeah.
It could be corruption. It could be deals made on both sides, where the guy gets the money, he kicks. I think there's a lot of kickback here. I see a lot of kickback here.
There's a lot of kickbacks.
Tremendous kickback, because nobody could be so stupid to give out some of these contracts.
Yes.
So he has to get a kickback. So that's what I got.
Are you generally sympathetic with the idea of increased oversight on federal agencies to prevent overspending? No, not really. Not anymore. I ran out of sympathy for this. These are just retard talking points for retards. If it works for you, that's great. But this is the equivalent of some dude, coming into your fucking kid's bedroom with an assault rifle and then standing there and you're like, who are you and what the fuck are you? And you're like, are you not in favor of somebody making sure your children are safe? And you're like, I don't know. No, I don't even know who you are. It's like, oh, so you don't want the kids to be safe? No. So, I'm sorry, but the idea that these people could literally fucking bust a nut in your fucking eyes and tell you it's clear eyes or some shit, and you're like, well, isn't it good that at least somebody... No, it's just stupid. What you're saying is fucking nonsense. We already have the Office of Government Accountability. We already have watchdogs for every single major organization in the government. These things already exist. You can't just say, well, are you opposed to the idea of them, and then insert whatever retard speak, Trump or Elon fucked into both sides of your head the previous day. No, I'm so over it. God, it was a stupid fucking question that you asked. There are tons of organizations that already exist that have this exact job. How do you think the country functions or runs at all? We still have we did. I don't know what the fuck will be in 4 years. We have the largest economy in the world, right? We have so much shit that functions here in the United States, believe it or not. Do you think it all happens on accident? Do you think it all happens randomly, by chance? What a stupid fucking question.
Elected for that and borders and military and a lot of things, but this is a big part of it. And I hope that the court system is going to allow us to do what we have to do. We got elected to among other things, find all of this fraud, abuse, all of this horrible stuff going on. And we've already found billions of dollars, not a little bit, billions, many billions of dollars. And when you get down to it, it's going to be probably close to $1 trillion. It could be close to $1 trillion that we're going to find.
It's just fucking retarded. Your discretionary spending is 1.7 trillion. You think over half the money that our government is spending is waste, fraud, and abuse. Even if you include the full budget, let's assume they're talking Social Security and Medicare as well. You think 1/6 of our budget is just being wasted, really, on waste, fraud, and abuse, really? Why didn't you find any of this on your first administration? What were you doing then?
That will have quite an impact on the budget.
Yes.
And you'll go to a judge where they handpick a judge, and he has certain leanings. I'm not knocking anybody for that, but he has certain leanings, and he wants us to stop looking. how do you stop looking? I mean, we've already found it. We have a case in New York where a hotel has paid $59 million, $59 million because it's housing migrants, illegal migrants.
Yeah, but was this specified by Congress? Was this money spent illegally? Was this part which part of the federal government was doing? Like, just because you fund something you don't like doesn't make it illegal, and it doesn't make it waste, fraud, and abuse. Like the fact that they use all of these terms interchangeably is also a huge indicator that he's full of shit as well.
All illegal, I believe.
And they were being paid twice the normal room rate at 100% occupancy.
Unbelievable.
So it's a racket.
Mr. Musk, can I ask a question? You
Well,
said
if I may sort of...
Can somebody tell me the implication? Because they were paying twice the normal roommate rate at 100% occupancy. Don't room rates usually go up as occupancy increases? Isn't that normal? I've only stayed at a million fucking hotels. I feel like as they fill up more, the rates go up. I don't even know what the point of that statement was. Whatever.
Just going for the president's comments. At a high level, you say, well, what are the two ingredients that are really necessary in order to cut the budget deficit in half from 2 trillion to 1 trillion? And it's really two things: competence and caring.
It's not. It's income and outlays, okay? You make money, which you've reduced with the Trump Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, okay, that you want to expand, and he wants to extend. So that's one way you're reducing income, and that has to do with your outlays. How much money do you spend? And they've talked about increasing, almost doubling, the size of the largest federal outlay, which has to do with defense spending. And he's too much of a coward to cut any other real spending. So he just goes after all of these smaller government agencies that I don't even know how much money, if they're even going to fucking save money at the end of the day on this. Like.
And if you add competence and caring, you'll cut the budget deficit in half. And I fully expect to be scrutinized and get a daily proctology exam, basically. Might as well just camp out there. So it's not like I think I can get away with something. I'll be scrutinized nonstop. But with the support of the president, we can cut the budget deficit in half from 2 trillion to 1, and then with deregulation, because there's a lot of sort of regulations that don't ultimately serve the public good. We need to free the builders of America to build, and if we do that, that means I think we can get the economic growth to be maybe 3-4%, maybe 5%. And that means if you can get $1 trillion of economic growth and you cut the budget deficit by $1 trillion, between now and next year, there is no inflation. There's no inflation in 26. And next year, there is no inflation by $1 trillion. That means if you can get $1 trillion of economic growth and you cut the budget deficit by $1 trillion, between now and next year, there is no inflation.
I don't think the GDP and the federal spending by the government are one-to-one at all like that, but okay.
There's no inflation in 26. And if the government is not borrowing as much, it means that interest costs decline. So the mortgage, their car payment, their credit card bills, anything, their student debt.
Wait, what?
And if the government is not borrowing as much, it means that interest costs decline. So the mortgage, their car payment, their credit card bills, anything, their student debt, the monthly payments drop.
First of all, this assumes you're on an adjustable rate for any of these things, which I don't know if any of those things are on an adjustable rate. Car loans, mortgages, and student loans, I'm almost certain 99% of these are fixed rate. Number one. Number two, I don't know why the government having a smaller or larger deficit for the budget, how that's going to influence the federal funds rate. Or I don't know. Okay. Like none of this means anything. This is all like.
That's a fantastic scenario for the average American. I mean, imagine they're going down the grocery aisle and the prices from one year to the next are the same, and their mortgage, all their debt payments dropped. How great is that?
What is it? I guess it's because he's a billionaire. He's never had a mortgage payment before. Like, it doesn't work that way. What is he talking about?
That for the average American.
We had no idea. We had no idea we were going to find this much, and it's open. It's not like complicated. It's
not
simple
that complicated.
Stuff. It's
like
a
lot of work. Yeah.
We can't believe it. A lot of work. A lot of smart people involved. Very, very smart people. But you're talking about anywhere, maybe $500 billion. It's crazy the kind of numbers you're
It is really
talking
crazy.
about. You know, normally when you're looking at something, you'll find you're looking for 1 out of 100. Here, you're almost reversing it. You look for one that's good.
Yeah.
And you can look at the title and you say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And the public gets it. You know, the public gets it. You've seen the polls. The public is saying, why are we paying all this money? This for years, this has gone on.
Mr. Musk,
President
you
Trump,
said,
Senator,
Yeah, go ahead. Wait, go ahead.
Senator Rand Paul today said that Doge cuts will ultimately need a vote in Congress. Do you agree with that? Is that the
I
plan?
really don't know. I know this.
How do you not know how your government works? Why he doesn't know how his government works? He has no idea. He doesn't know because he doesn't ask his DOJ. He doesn't ask Office of Legal Counsel. He has no fucking idea. He doesn't know what's legal or illegal for any of this shit. It literally is absolutely no idea like what the fuck they're doing. It's a joke.
Senator,
Yeah, go ahead. Wait, go ahead.
Senator Rand Paul today said that Doge cuts will ultimately need a vote in Congress. Do you agree with that? Is that the
I
plan?
really don't know. I know this. We're finding tremendous fraud and tremendous abuse. If I need a vote of Congress to find fraud and abuse, it's fine with me. I think we'll get the vote, although there'll be some people that wouldn't vote. And how could a judge want to hold us back from finding all of this fraud and finding all of this incompetence? Why would that happen? Why would even Congress want to do that? Now, Congress, if we do need a vote, I think we'd get a very easy vote because we have a track record now. We've already found billions of dollars of abuse, incompetence, and corruption. A lot of corruption.
If a judge does block one of your policies, part of your agenda, will you abide by that ruling? Will you
Well,
comply
I
with that
always
order?
abide by the courts, and then I'll have to appeal it. But then what he's done is he slowed down the momentum. And it gives crooked people more time to cover up the books.
They're going to cover up billions and billions of dollars of fraud, or I'm sorry, trillions of dollars of fraud in a month?
If a person's crooked and they get caught, other people see that, and all of a sudden it becomes harder later on. So, yeah, the answer is I always abide by the courts, always abide by them, and will appeal. But
That's good,
appeals
at
take
least,
a long
I
time,
guess.
and I would hope that a judge, if you go into a judge and you show him, here's a corrupt situation, we have a check to be sent, but we found it to be corrupt. Do you want us to send this corrupt check to a person, or do you want us not to give it and give it back to the taxpayer? I would hope a judge would say, don't send it, give it back to the taxpayer.
Yeah, if I can add to that, what we're finding is that a bunch of the fraud is not even going to Americans. So I think we can all agree that if there's going to be fraud, it should at least go to Americans. But a bunch of the fraud rings that are operating in the United States and taking advantage of the federal government, especially in the entitlements programs, are actually foreign fraud rings. They're operating in other countries and actually exporting money to other countries. We should stop that.
Mr. Musk,
And this is big numbers. Talking about $100 to $200 billion a year. Serious money.
Mr. Musk, you said
And for what? In what? What is he even referring to there? $100 to $200 billion a year of what? Of waste, fraud, and abuse? Like where? What?
on X
Yeah.
that an example of the fraud that you have cited was $50 million of condoms was sent to Gaza. But after fact check this, it apparently Gaza in Mozambique, and the program was to protect them against HIV. So can you correct the statements? It wasn't sent to Hamas actually. It was sent to Mozambique, which makes sense why condoms was sent there.
Yeah.
And
Is that Stephen Miller? Or am I mixing him up with other bald dude?
how can we make sure that all the statements that you said were correct, so we can trust what you say?
Well, first of all,
God, I fucking hate that dude. God, On the Wall. Okay, is a great album by Pink Floyd.
some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct any mistakes. I'm not sure we should be sending $50 million worth of condoms to anywhere, frankly. I'm not sure that's something Americans would be really excited about.
Like, what do you, like, really excited about? That's not your job, you retarded fuck. It's not your job to decide what Americans are excited about. You don't even have a real job. You literally a fake unelected bureaucrat in the White House at Trump's invitation. That's all you are.
And that is really an enormous number of condoms, when you think about it. If it went to Mozambique instead of Gaza, I'm like, okay, that's not as bad, but still, why are we doing that?
Mr. Musk, can you talk a little bit about how closely you're working with agency heads as you're directing these cuts, do they have how much input do agency heads have when you're making these decisions?
Yeah, we work closely with the agency heads, yeah. There are sort of checks in place. So it's not just us just going in and doing things willy nilly.
He doesn't even know. Does he not even understand how his own shit works? Well, does he not know the answer to this question? Why he talks like he talks like a guy who doesn't know anything. Like he feels like he's every middle manager retard ever. Like, what are you guys actually doing to increase, how fast the trucks are picking up trash from everybody's house? Well, we've come in and we've, we're working with all the drivers to increase our optimization and what was this guy's name?
Hi everyone, it's Skunk Paste here, and
every single time Elon Musk talks about the government, this is what he sounds like.
Hi everyone, it's Skunk Paste here, and you may or may not have noticed, but I just received a business cut. What does this mean for the brand of Skunk Paste? Well, essentially it means you're going to be seeing a great new viral outreach burst of business-related content. What does that mean? It means viral approach, marketing schemes, theoretical distribution, employee relation management. Diabolical web overdrive, advertisement sensibility, outreach announcements, quantized distribution, online web content, pivotal techniques to increase your marketability and sales output, stock portfolio, tip trading, techniques, stock investment leeway opportunities, more content delivered straight to your feed. How can I increase my growth? What are my sales figures? What's my bottom line? What is the input-output mechanism for regrowth and remanagement? Staff clearing, business-wide accountability programs, accountability boosters, initiatives and incentives for your employees to overdrive their concepts, paid vacation time, and more. So with all of these great tips, you'll be sure to be successful. With all of these great tips, you'll be sure to make it in the business field. Whether it's online distribution, sales management, team efforts, viral content, or anything related to business, marketing outreach approach, theoretical distribution theory, you will be making your success fields in the rounds. So I can't wait to see your growth. Together we're going to take this journey and follow it together. We're both going to be growing in our business ventures. So thank you very much for following my new business channel. And this is about business now. So I hope you like business. It's about business. So.
The agency head.
How much impact as you're directing these cuts? Do they have how much input do agency heads have when you're making these decisions?
Yeah, we work closely with the agency heads, yeah. There are sort of checks in place. So it's not just us just going in and doing things willy nilly. It's in partnership with the agency heads, and I check frequently with the president to make sure that this is what the president wants to have happen. So we talk almost every day, and I double check things to make sure is this something.
Oh, he double checks. Oh, at least he double checks things. Fuck me, I didn't even know that. That is one new piece of information that I've gotten from here. Thank you. He double checks things. He double checks things.
Mr. President, you want us to do this? Then we'll do it.
USAID has been one of your main targets.
Somebody should say, what do you think is the legal theory that the judges are running with as they're issuing temporary restraining orders against you guys? Like, why do you think they have a legal problem with what you're doing? Just curious. I would just like to hear them stumble through the answer to that. I wouldn't. It would just make me mad.
Then we'll do it.
USAID has been one of your main targets. Are you concerned at all that some of the cuts or that shutting that agency altogether may lead to diseases or other bigger problems starting in other countries that then come to the United States?
Yeah, so that's an interesting example. So that's something where we work closely with the State Department and Secretary Rubio. And we have, for example, turned on funding for Ebola prevention and for HIV prevention.
HIV prevention. Careful, because you know what a big part of HIV prevention is? It's fucking condoms. Careful.
Yes, correct. And we are moving fast, so we will make mistakes, but we'll also fix the mistakes very quickly.
Do
So
you see it as a worthy cause, USAID?
I think that there's some worthy things, but overall, if you say what was the bang for the buck, I would say it was not very good. And there was far too
What do you mean, bang for the buck? Like what? Like, are you looking at these to be like economic investments, or?
much of what USAID was doing was influencing elections in ways that I think were dubious and do not stand the light of day.
I can just ask a follow-up to the Pentagon.
Oh, USAID money was going to influence elections. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Contracts, if you have received billions of dollars in contracts from the Pentagon, and the president's directing you to look into the Department of Defense, is
Yes,
that
which we
a
definitely need
conflict
to
of
do and
interest?
are going to do at the president's request.
Does that present a conflict of interest for you?
No, because you'd have to look at the individual contract and say, first of all, I'm not the one, filing the contract. It's people at SpaceX or someone who will be putting for the contract. And I'd like to say, if you see any contract where where it was awarded to SpaceX and it wasn't by far the best value for money for the taxpayer, let me know. Because every one of
There's not a conflict of interest because it's not me, it's my company. What? Okay. Fuck me. I didn't even consider that. I didn't consider that one.
contract. And I'd like to say, if you see any contract where where it was awarded to SpaceX and it wasn't by far the best value for money for the taxpayer, let me know, because every one of them was.
The president said the other day that you might look at treasuries. Could you explain that a little bit? What kind of fraud, and that question goes to both of you, what kind of fraud are you expecting to see or do you see right now in U.S. treasuries?
Yeah, I think you mean the Treasury Department as opposed to Treasury bills, or...
You also referenced treasuries on Air Force One the other night.
Go ahead.
Well,
I've seen people do this in debates. Sean did this a few times where you're like, so you guys said some retarded shit, and both of them are like, yeah, he'll take this one. Go ahead.
bills, or...
Trump leans over so fast. Elon, you got this one, right?
You also referenced treasuries on Air Force One the other night.
Go ahead.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, really, the first order of business is to make sure we're actually collecting... Sorry for this. I thought my son might enjoy this, but he's sticking his fingers in my ears and stuff. So it's a bit hard to hear.
Oh, he's so personable.
Sometimes, hey, stop that. No, the stuff we're doing with Treasury Department is so basic that you can't believe it doesn't exist already. So for example, like I mentioned, just making sure that when a payment goes out, it has to have
We're just gonna repeat the same fucking stupid shit we said earlier. Okay.
a payment categorization code. It's like, what type of payment is this? You can't just leave the field blank. Currently, many payments, the field is left blank. And you have to describe what's the payment for, some basic rationalization. That also is left blank. So this is why, the Pentagon, when's the last time the Pentagon passed an audit? I mean, a decade ago, maybe? I don't know, ever?
It seems completely inappropriate to have a child in this presser. What are you talking about? Don't you know how business works?
Ladies and gentlemen, find one that has. And the men that work for me, and they are men I know. I make it my business to be there and to see their work. I don't lose my tools in the hole and spend months fishing for them. I don't botch the cementing off and let water in the hole and ruin the whole lease. I
Gotta
run
have
a
his kid
family
with him.
business. This is my son and my partner, H.W. Plainview. We offer you the bond of family that very few oil men can understand. I'm fixed like no other company in this field, and that's because my Coyote Hills well has just come in. I have a street.
Really? And we want to just in order to actually pass audits, you have to have financial information that allows you to trace the payments. And once in a while, the Treasury has to pause payments if it thinks the payment is going to a fraudulent organization. If a company or an organization is on a do not pay list.
Yeah, we've heard this. How many times does he say this in this one thing? Is this like the 6th time? How many times have they brought up this do not pay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Okay, good talking point. Did you guys rehearse this one beforehand? Jesus.
Should not pay it. I'm sure you would agree. Like if it's quite hard to get on that payment, the do not pay list, it means that this is.
Oh yeah, good point. Also, wait. So you want like these fields to be labeled more for payments going out? Aren't you describing bureaucracy? Like, aren't you describing like a bureaucratic thing here? So you want more bureaucracy, or?
I would agree. Like if it's quite hard to get on that payment, the do not pay list, it means that this is someone that is just. It's like.
Yeah, that's a good point too. What do you think people are going to write in these hypothetical fields? Like, we implemented the justification field, and we went into and we moved all of them over from Notepad and JSON to SQL databases because they weren't using those before. He tweeted this out apparently. And then we sorted and we used our ingenious to find all these people that wrote, "I'm stealing from the government" in all these fields. And that's how we got all the fraud. When they started labeling all the fields as theft and fraud and waste, we just deleted those payments. And now we saved hundreds of trillions of dollars, quadrillions of dollars from the government.
That payment, the do not pay list, it means that this is someone that is just, it's like dead people, terrorists, known fraudsters, that kind of thing. We should
not the known fraudsters.
Okay, but currently we do, which is crazy. We should stop that.
Many transactions. And by the way, hundreds, thousands of transactions like that. You know, we have a big team. And for the sake of the country, I hope that the person that's in charge and the other people that report to me that are in charge are allowed to do the right thing, namely make sure everything's honest, legitimate, and competent. But we're looking at just, when you look at USAID, that's one. We're gonna look at the military, we're gonna look at education. They're much bigger areas. But the USAID is really corrupt. I'll tell you, it's corrupt. It's incompetent and it's really corrupt. And I can't imagine a judge saying, well, it may be corrupt, but you don't have the right. You got elected to look over the country and to, as we say, make America great again, but you don't have the right to go and look and see whether or not things are right that they're paying or that things are honest that they're paying. And nobody can even believe this. Other people, law professors, they've been saying, how can you take that person's right away? You're supposed to be running the country, but we're not allowed to look at who they're paying it to and what they're paying. We have massive amounts of fraud that we caught. I think we probably caught way over a lot of billions of dollars already.
He wanted to say trillions, but he's like, is that too retarded?
I think we probably caught way over a lot of billions of dollars already in, 2 weeks?
Yes.
And it's going to go to numbers that you're not going to believe. And much, as I said, much is incompetence and much is dishonesty. We have to catch it. And the only way we're going to catch it is to look for it. And if a judge is going to say you're not allowed to look for it, that's pretty sad for our country. I don't understand how it could even work.
Program, can you personally guarantee that...
Which one?
The buyout program, the operative federal workers. Can you personally guarantee that the workers who opt in to resign now will be paid through September?
They'll get their money, but they're getting a good deal. They're getting a big buyout. And what we're trying to do is reduce government. We have too many people. We have office space. It's occupied by 4%. Nobody's showing up to work because they were told not to. And then Biden gave them a 5-year pass, some of them, 48,000 of them, gave them a 5-year pass, that for 5 years you don't have to show up to work. And let me tell you, this is largely, much of this stuff is because of Biden. It's his fault. He allowed this country, what he did on our border. What he did on our border is almost not as bad as what he did with all of these contracts that have come out. It's a very sad day when we look at it. I can't even believe it. But many contracts just extend and they just keep extending, and there was nobody there to correct it. And that cannot be, I can't imagine that could be held up by the court. Any court that would say that the president or his representatives like Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of State, whatever, doesn't have the right to go over their books and make sure everything's honest. I mean, how can you have a country? You can't have anything that way. You can't have a business that way. You can't have a country that way. Hey, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Head down.
Coming back tonight. Mark Fogel will be at the White House tonight at about 10 o'clock. If you want to come over, you can say hello to him.
Did the U.S. give anything in return?
Not much. No, they were very nice. We were treated very nicely by Russia, actually. I hope that's the beginning of a relationship where we can end that war and millions of people can stop being killed. They've
When I thought this was a day one war being ended.
lost
What happened at
millions
day
of
one?
people. They lost, in terms of soldiers, probably 1.5 million soldiers in a short period of time. We got to stop that war. And I'm interested primarily from the standpoint of death. We're losing all those soldiers. And they're not American soldiers, they're Ukrainian and Russian soldiers. But you're probably talking about 1.5 million. I think we got to bring that one to an end. Okay? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're moving.
Let's go. Let's move.
Thank you. We're moving.
10 o'clock. 10 o'clock.
Quickly, guys. Wait, is this supposed to be the website that shows me the savings? Wait, is there supposed to be more? Is there supposed to be more here? Wait, what? Nancy Mace, what? All right, well.
And there's been a lot of
Wait, at the bottom. What at the bottom?
And there's been a lot of pearl clutching over the last several days from my colleagues across the aisle on Donald Trump, Secretary Rubio, the Department of Government Efficiency's plan to reorganize the U.S. Agency for International Development, or as we all now know, USAID.
Right click, inspect element, go to the bottom. Well, I don't know what you want me to do or find or go for. Or... Oh, wait, is it a different site? www.dogetracker.com? What the fuck is this website? $37.69 billions. Have you seen the anonymous video that was made about the economy? No? They say there's been $37.69 billion saved, and $30 billion of this just comes from Trump firing a fuck ton of employees. And And the source for that is a fucking tweet? Are we not rehiring for any of the people who have resigned? After the Eric Adams decision, can we just solidify crime is no longer a thing for all government officials who voted for? Yeah, I guess if you're voting for Trump, you might as well just commit whatever federal crimes you want. Because apparently you just gotta get off. That's good, I guess. $60,000 employees, $300 billion. I'm just curious how much, or $30 billion. 30 million, 30 billion divided by. So, how are we even estimating the saved money here? I don't even know what the fuck this means. Where does this $30 billion even come from? Is this just like a random fucking number that they made up? It's made up. Okay.
They're screaming about Elon Musk over there, but hey, George Soros and his boy are okay. They scream that we're all a threat to democracy when they've been systematically dismantling democracy before our eyes. They've been caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and there's no going back. So I would tell my colleagues across the other side of the aisle, take your salty tears and sit right back down. USAID has long strayed from its mission to effectively and efficiently administer aid to advance American interests. USAID has become rotten to its core, sacrificing the prudent use of taxpayer dollars at the altar of advancing radical, sinister social and political agendas abroad. From discriminatory DEI initiatives to extreme gender ideology to marginalize real bona fide biological women. For decades, while homeless veterans sleep on our streets, our communities rebuild from natural disasters, and American families struggle to get by, USAID has pillaged and plundered the American treasury, essentially lighting American taxpayer dollars on fire, funding some of the dumbest initiatives imaginable, all supported by the left, and that's why their party is crumbling. Today, I'm going to expose some of the initiatives USAID has funded over the years and ask each of you a yes or no question. If you believe these expenditures of American taxpayer dollars put America first, so it'll be yes or no. USAID awarded $2 million to strengthen trans-led organizations to deliver gender-affirming health care in Guatemala. So to each of you this morning, does this advance the interests of American citizens paying for trannies in Guatemala to the tune of $2 million? Jesus. Yes or no? Governor?
I have no position.
Of course you don't. Okay, USAID awarded over $750,000 to fund alleviating loneliness among migrant garment workers in India. Does this advance America's interests, Governor? No.
No. I have no position.
USAID awarded $1.5 million for providing a gender-sensitive response to migration at the Venezuelan border. Does this advance America's interests, Governor? No.
No. I have no position.
Does this advance the interest? Okay, so USAID awarded $4.3 million on October 1st, 2023 to a group to fund comprehensive health services for men having sex with other men in South Africa. Does this advance the interests of American citizens, Governor? No.
No. I have no position.
I bet you don't. Okay. USAID awarded $1.5 million to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and business communities by promoting economic empowerment and opportunity for LGBTQI plus people in Serbia. Does this advance America's interests? No.
No. Nope.
You have no idea, right? Okay. USAID awarded over $70,000 to a group to deliver a live musical event to promote the U.S. and Irish shared values of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Does this advance the interests of America? No.
No. No position.
No position or no clue. Okay, USAID awarded $1.5 million to fund strengthening community support structures to upscale LGBT rights advocacy in Jamaica. Does this advance our interests? No.
No. No position.
USAID awarded $28 million to a group to facilitate the economic insertion of Venezuelan migrants and refugees in Peru and Ecuador. Does this advance our interests? No.
No. No position.
Okay, USAID awarded $17.5 million to fund voluntary medical male circumcision overseas. Does this advance America's interests? No.
No. No position.
I don't know what circumcision overseas has to do with America First either. USAID awarded nearly $150,000 to fund HIV prevention services targeting men who have sex with men and transgender. Does this advance America's interests? No.
No. No position.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm limited to 5 minutes, but these are the programs Democrats are so desperate to save. Our foreign assistance system is badly broken, and this ends now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Mr. Chairman, parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, sir.
It's like a collection of like the worst people in the Republic.
Powers. It's a really novel idea, but our founding fathers created a document, the Constitution. There's a separation of powers for a reason. The executive branch is the ultimate authority on federal issues, and we have rogue judges who are trying to stop members like Doge team, Besant, from doing their job. And that's to protect taxpayer dollars, to look at what we're doing with spending, and to run the federal government under President Trump. So here's what separation of
the one shining light here is like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. As cringe as our Supreme Court is right now, the only thing they want to defend power more for than the executive branch is themselves. There is no shot that a Roberts court is going to be happy with this much power grabbing from the president. Not that it fucking matters, I guess, if the president doesn't give a fuck anyway, but...
That's why
they have abided by the blocks so far, haven't they? So it makes sense they would same for the Supreme Court. My understanding is they have not abided by it. I thought a judge issued an order today saying that they haven't been abiding by the blocks. So I don't know where you get that from.
That's it. But they don't do that.
What is this?
That's why it's laughable when you think about the Biden administration, which had every right to actually abolish student loan debt. They had all of the power, and the Supreme Court decided it was unconstitutional. Fuck the Supreme Court. What are you going to do about it? But Biden was, of course, the wrong guy for that because he can't go on television and do what Trump does all the time, which is to say the Supreme Court is an enemy of the American people. They want people to be saddled with unlimited debt for the rest of your lives. They want you to be saddled with unlimited debt. They pulled a bullshit case out of nowhere to claim that there was a financial institution being harmed. The financial institution itself said that there's no legal standing for this court case. Are you joking? Fuck the Supreme Court? Fuck that? What are you doing? The Supreme Court shut Biden down. They did pass it. Are you so sure that if the Supreme Court said no to Trump would ignore that? Should Biden? This take is a miss. Biden did attempt to forgive student loan debt. Brother, what are you saying?
Why are we fighting about student loan debt? Oh my God. The thickest of ropes.
Hey everybody, it's Tim Miller from The Bulwark. We've got more breaking news, and I think this one's the biggest story of the day. A whistleblower has come forward to say that FBI Director nominee Kash Patel was directing the firings that we've seen at the Bureau of agents that were involved in the investigations into Donald Trump and other top-level people at the Bureau. We discussed these firings and the implications with Andrew Weissman in another video. If you missed that a while back, I'd recommend going back and checking that out. He was the former general counsel of the FBI. But the reason why this is a doozy, if the whistleblower statements are true, and I think there's good reason to believe they are, is that Kash Patel, it would mean that Kash Patel perjured himself when he was asked about this directly during his confirmation hearing. And when this Q&A happened, my spidey sense went up immediately because it just beggared belief that there would be a purge at the FBI, that some advisory team would come in and recommend a bunch of high-level firings, and that the person that Trump nominated to run the Bureau wouldn't have been...
Fuck, I can't do that. Do we go back to the red pill arc to save our brains? Fuck no.
Involved in that? Like it didn't make any sense to believe like that could have been true. And the fact that Kash, in my opinion, lied about other things. during that hearing. I mean, again, it's hard to imagine that he wasn't involved in conversations with Trump about the pardons, which is another thing that he said. So who knows? I mean, I guess maybe, but it just doesn't really pass the smell test. Is I guess way to put it. But I want to show you, because credit to Senator Cory Booker, he asked this question in a very direct manner. Almost, I don't know if Cory's spidey sense was up as well, or if maybe they had a sense that this was coming. He really cornered Cash on this question of whether he was involved in hirings. I want to watch that clip right now.
Are you aware of any plans or discussions to punish in any way, including termination, FBI agents or personnel associated with Trump investigations?
I'm not aware of any, Senator.
I'm not aware of any, Senator. I mean, that was a very clear question, straightforward. Are you aware of any efforts to punish agents who were involved in the investigations into Trump? I was not aware of any, Senator. So that is what he said during the hearing after a really smart question from Cory Booker. Now let's go to what we are learning from the whistleblower. We're going to a story here from the Washington Post. The Washington Post pegs the story to a letter put out by Dick Durbin, who's a ranking Democrat on the Judiciary Committee. In the letter, he says that there was a January 29th meeting between FBI's acting director Brian Driscoll and a member of this director's advisory team that I mentioned earlier. At this meeting with Driscoll, the advisory team arrived with a list of names. Durbin said this list was seen by multiple FBI leaders, and they understood it to be a collection of, quote, people in the crosshairs. The senator said he reviewed notes taken during a meeting that same day between top FBI leadership and acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove. This guy's been a really the central figure from the legal side in advancing these purges, not just at the FBI, but the DOJ and inspectors general and elsewhere. So Emil Bove is this very key figure at the DOJ, was having a meeting with FBI leadership. And Bove, according to Durbin, according to this whistleblower, told the meeting attendees that he'd received multiple phone calls the night before from Stephen Miller, Trump's deputy chief of staff, urging the swift removal of employees whom Patel had targeted for termination. KP wants movement at FBI. One attendee purportedly wrote in the notes Durbin reviewed. Let's do that again. KP, Kash Patel, wants movement at the FBI. We have here, according to my sources, Mr. Patel is receiving information from within the FBI, from a member of the director's advisory team. The senator wrote in his letter to the inspector general. It's interesting, like the one inspector general Trump kept was the inspector general that has oversight over the FBI, because he was happy about a Horowitz inspector general report against Comey and some of the other officials he didn't like. So Trump liked this guy because he had put out some reports against some deep state officials he didn't like, and so he kept him. So we'll see if that comes back to bite him. But anyway, in this letter to Horowitz, again, according to the source, it says that Patel provides direction to Stephen Miller, who relayed it to acting Deputy Attorney General Bove, and that each member had represented one or more officials at the Bureau that they had been in direct contact with Mr. Patel. Again, it's not like this is obvious, right? It's like, really? Like they were just going rogue. They didn't talk to Cash. They couldn't wait 2 weeks. They're just going to go start firing top officials at the FBI without telling him. I think yourself in Cash's shoes. Maybe they fired 7 top guys and Cash liked one of them. Even if you're in Cash's shoes and you're being corrupt, maybe you liked one of them, right? You wouldn't go do this and have this broad purge of key people at the Bureau without talking to the person that was nominated to lead the Bureau. It just didn't make any sense. Their story didn't make any sense from the start. And it seems like the reason it didn't make any sense from the start is it wasn't true. And that Patel was involved, and that he was telling Bove and the people on the FBI advisory board who he wanted to be removed from the Bureau. So we'll see how this shakes out. The hearing, for Patel had been pushed back because the Democrats, I assume, were kind of gathering information about this, and the Democrats had asked for it to be pushed back. So we're going to have a vote on him possibly by as soon as the end of this week. We'll see if there are additional delays. But it's a pretty interesting breaking news story, to say the least. The idea that the incoming director of the FBI would have potentially perjured himself in testimony about firing underlings at the FBI.
It doesn't matter for perjury because what is the DOJ going to go after him? He's going to go after himself? It's not nothing. This is all. What a man. Jesus Christ. What a month. Not even a month. White House failed to comply with court order, judge rules. Federal judge in Rhode Island said the Trump administration had failed to comply with the order unfreezing billions of dollars in federal grants. It is a basic proposition that all orders and judgments of courts must be complied with promptly. Persons who make private determinations of the law and refuse to obey an order generally risk criminal contempt, even if the order is ultimately ruled incorrect. The orderly and expeditious administration of justice by the courts requires that an order issued by a court with jurisdiction over the subject matter and person must be obeyed by the parties until it is reversed by orderly and proper proceedings. The defendants issued a broad, categorical, all-encompassing directive freezing federal funding. The plain language of the TRO entered in this case prohibits all categorical pauses or freezes in obligations or disbursements based on the OMB directive or based on the President's 2025 executive order. 2025 executive orders. The defendants received notice of the TRO. The order is clear and unambiguous, and there are no impediments to the defendant's compliance with the order. The states have presented evidence in this motion that the defendants in some cases have continued to improperly freeze federal funds and refuse to resume disbursement of appropriated federal funds. The defendants now plea that they are just trying to root out fraud, but the freezes in effect now were a result of the broad categorical order, not a specific finding of possible fraud. The broad categorical and sweeping freeze of federal funds is, as the court found, likely unconstitutional and has caused and continues to cause irreparable harm to a vast portion of this country. These pauses in funding violate the plain text of the TRO. In response to the defendant's arguments, they can request targeted relief from the TRO, from this court, where they can show a specific instance where they are acting in compliance with this order, but otherwise withholding funds due to specific authority. Therefore, consistent with the U.S. Constitution, the United States statutes, the United States Supreme Court precedent, and the TRO, the defendants are hereby further ordered as follows. 1. The defendants must immediately restore frozen funding during the pendency of the TRO until the court hears and decides the preliminary injunction request. 2. The defendants must immediately end any federal funding pause during the pendency of the TRO. 3. The defendants must immediately take every step necessary to effectuate the TRO, including clearing any administrative, operational, or technical hurdles to implementation. 4. The defendants must comply with the plain text of the TRO, not to pause any funds. And 5. The defendants must immediately restore withheld funds, including those funds appropriated in the Inflation Reduction Act and the infrastructure, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well. Damn. That's what they're trying to get around. It specifies the OMB memo or presidential executive orders. They basically are trying to argue that Biden's IRA stuff doesn't count because it wasn't in the EO. The judge is targeting is complete bullshit, but I think it shows they are weaseling for anything. They aren't willing to break the court rulings in a 100% insane way. Instead, I don't agree with that, but I think this is pretty ludicrous. But
my name.
This is about the order we just read, I think. Is it this
You're
one?
watching The Legal Breakdown. Glenn, something we've been watching especially closely is the prospect of Trump not complying with court orders as he continues to commit illegal actions and then get blocked by the courts. It looks like we have finally arrived there. Can you explain what just happened?
Yeah, so a federal judge in Rhode Island who had previously issued what's called a temporary restraining order telling the Trump administration that it must lift the freeze on the billions of dollars in federal funding that had been allocated to the states. So after that order had been issued, the Trump...
Destiny, do you support America paying for gauze and condoms? I support the rule of law. I thought conservatives used to, but...
administration had some time to comply and lift the freeze. And just today, Brian, we got another court order. It looks like the Trump administration has not complied with that temporary restraining order. So the 22 state attorneys general went back into court and sought a motion to enforce the judge's earlier order. But really the blockbuster news is this is the first time a federal court judge has issued a ruling, a finding that the Trump administration is violating a federal court order. The judge is Judge John J. McConnell Jr. And Brian, he didn't mince any words because right in the opening salvo of today's order, he said, it's a basic proposition that all orders and judgments of courts must be complied with promptly. The judge put all of that in bold print, which you don't often see in court orders. Persons who make private determinations of the law and refuse to obey an order generally risk criminal contempt. That is a shot across the bow. Now, it's important to note that the judge did not hold the Trump administration or any official in contempt today, nor did he impose any sanctions, any fines. But it sounds like when Judge McConnell is opening with, y'all are running the risk of criminal contempt, which can include punishment, including confinement. You know, the Trump administration may want to think twice about whether they want to continue to violate court orders.
Okay, so Glenn, the judge didn't hold these people in contempt, even though they're flouting the orders that were handed down by the court. Why not? I mean, we have seen, not just from this administration in the last couple of weeks, but Donald Trump in the last few years continue to flout these orders, knowing full well that he can continue to bank off of the goodwill of these judges. And yet it seems that the justice system, that the judicial system isn't learning its lesson, that Trump isn't interested in deferring to the law, that he's going to continue to take every inch he can get. And until these judges actually take swift and severe action against him, he'll continue to barrel ahead. And so why not just learn the lessons from the past, hold these people in contempt if you're already seeing that they're willing to refuse to abide by the court orders that were handed down?
Yeah, here's why, Brian. In my 30 years being a federal prosecutor, handling, among other things, contempt charges and contempt cases, judges never, and I'm not even going to qualify that by saying almost never, judges never hold somebody in contempt for the first violation, the first transgression. What they do is they order them to comply. Now, when you read this very short court order issued today, the judge says, you know what, the Trump administration tried to say, well, we're just ferreting out fraud, waste, and abuse. And the judge said, I didn't give you any kind of an exception that would give you an escape hatch like that. Also, the Trump administration tried to say, well, there was actually a different executive order issued, and that's why we did or didn't do certain things. The judge was having none of it. So basically, you know, you usually get one bite at the violating a court order apple before judges start to get serious. So now the judge will have to monitor this order, now that he's ordered them to comply, to see if in fact they continue to defy the order or if they comply. And if they continue to defy, I can almost promise you the next thing you're going to see are what are called show cause hearings. You, Donald Trump, and your administration must show cause as to why I shouldn't hold you in contempt, because you've been warned once. And then there are different kinds of contempt. They can proceed with civil contempt, which is really more about fines, or they can go to criminal contempt, which can include actually detaining, confining, jailing administration officials. But let me tell you, if the judge decides to go the way of criminal contempt, there will be some more criminal contempt hearings, because then the person who is at risk of being confined has some due process rights, and there will be a hearing conducted. So listen, this is not something that ever happens instantly. It usually
Can the president ever be found in criminal contempt if he has immunity for doing his job? I wonder if
doesn't happen, you know, the first time there is a violation of the court order, it builds over time. But I think this one is going to build and come to a head pretty
What does it even mean to be found in criminal contempt? Like, okay, well, we found him in criminal contempt. Now the FBI has to go and arrest. Oh, shit, he just pardoned himself or just told his FBI not to do it. What does it even matter? Like, what do we even...
Well, Glenn, let's game this out for a moment. And let's say, for example, that a judge does decide to try and hold an administration official under criminal contempt. Ultimately, it would be under the purview of the U.S. Marshals to actually enforce that. But aren't these U.S. Marshals under the purview of the DOJ? And so you'd have the administration would be responsible for enforcing criminal action against other administration officials, which clearly they would have no interest in doing?
Yep.
Yeah, Brian, that's the perfect question, because that is exactly where the rubber meets the road. Let's assume that after a hearing, the judge finds that a particular Trump administration official is in criminal contempt, knowingly, intentionally, and repeatedly violating court orders. What happens next? Well, it would be the United States Marshal Service that would be responsible for example, hauling that official into court and executing a court order to take that official into custody and put them in a Federal Bureau of Prisons facility. And people will say, well, wait a minute, because the U.S. Marshal Service is part of the Department of Justice and ultimately controlled by who? Donald Trump. Wouldn't he just tell them not to comply? He can try, but here's the thing, Brian. There's a federal law that sets out the responsibilities of the U.S. Marshal Service. Anybody scoring at home, it's 28 United States Code, Section 566, and here's what it says. It is the primary role and mission of the United States Marshal Service to provide security for federal judges and to obey, execute, and enforce all orders of the United States District Courts. What does that mean? That means that the U.S. Marshal Service is obligated by federal law to enforce court orders. And here's the thing, Brian, we are getting closer and closer to a true constitutional crisis when the executive branch of government says, even though we are duty bound by our constitutional construct to comply with lawfully issued federal court orders, we're not doing it. Then the United States Marshal Service has a decision to make, and I don't believe it's a difficult decision. Let me say, I worked with the good men and women of the U.S. Marshal Service for decades. They take their responsibility and their loyalty to the Constitution deadly seriously. And I think the success of Donald Trump attempting to plunge us into a constitutional crisis depends on just how many people Donald Trump can recruit to his, what is it, de facto criminal conspiracy to undermine the laws of our nation and to undermine the Constitution. I do not believe, and I hope I'm not being naive about this, that the men and women of the U.S. Marshal Service will say, we're going to violate the federal law that requires us to execute lawfully issued federal court orders by federal court judges. Instead, we're going to walk away from the Constitution and from our legal obligations, and we're going to side with a corrupt president. I am looking for the U.S. Marshal Service to stand strong against crime, corruption, and unconstitutional behavior and execute court orders by federal court judges.
Well, Glenn, here's my pushback to that, and I hope I'm not being too cynical here, although there's a low bar for how cynical we could be these days. But hearing that it's unlikely to see the U.S. Marshal Service do something illegal, I mean, at the same time, we're also talking about them reacting to the prospect of the situation that we are currently in, which is that Donald Trump his administration was ordered to do something. He refused to comply with a lawful order handed down by a judge, and so that's why we're in this situation. We're already in a situation where the federal government isn't following the law, and so that's why it's difficult for me to see that and say, okay, well, well, we couldn't possibly see a situation where somebody would, in the federal government would defy the law because we're this whole thought experiment is in response to the Trump administration
already defying the law. Yeah, why would you assume? So just the DOJ or just the president or just all of that part of the executive branch would defy the law, but the marshals wouldn't?
Already doing exactly that.
Yeah, the Trump administration is acting lawlessly. Indeed, it's acting unconstitutionally when, for example, Donald Trump signs an executive order revoking the constitutional right of birthright citizenship. And a Reagan-appointed judge who's been on the bench for 4 decades said, and I quote, "It is blatantly unconstitutional," that executive order. So we see the executive branch acting lawlessly and unconstitutionally. We see Congress, the Republicans in Congress, just laying down for Donald Trump and acting as his doormat. They're not, asserting themselves. They're not protecting their own rights and interests as a co-equal branch of government. So what's to say the United States Marshal Service will do any better? All I can say is, having worked.
The judicial unironically has zero checking powers on the executive. Kind of. I'm saying this, okay, until this permeates and other people repeat it, okay? Checks and balances only serves to function when everybody is playing by the rules. There are no checks and balances at all if the executive decides that they don't want to play ball. Okay, there's no such thing as a check or a balance on executive power if the executive says, oh, actually, we don't want to play this game anymore. You can't do anything. It's not going to be a bunch of guys in robes and a bunch of lawmakers running down the street to go and fight with the FBI and the DOD and then like the military. Like if the executive says we're not going to play ball, there are no checks and balances. Checks and balances are the procedures. Those are procedural things that we have in order to make sure one part of the government doesn't become too powerful. But if somebody decides to break with procedure, the executive, well, then you're fucked. There's nothing you can do at that point. It's over. Or it's not over. But, well, I mean, the constitutional order is over. Then you get to fucking, I don't know, coups or revolutions or whatever.
With those men and women, I expect them to do better. It doesn't mean that they may go the way of the Republicans in Congress and the Trump administration. I just hope and believe they won't go that way until they do. And then, Brian, basically the executive branch has co-opted all 3 branches of government because if the judiciary cannot rely on the law that mandates that their orders must be executed and complied with, if we can't rely on that, well, then Trump has successfully co-opted all branches of government and then welcome to the American dictatorship.
Well, look, I do want to note to that exact point that political gravity does exist, and I think that it is important that we call this stuff out as it happens so that people can be aware of it, push back on it, and we've seen the Trump administration relent before when political gravity becomes too great. So we'll continue to follow up on this stuff as soon as we have any updates. For those who are watching right now, please make sure to subscribe. The links to both of our channels are right here on the screen. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And I'm Glenn Kirshner.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown.
Illegal breakdown. What? Got him. Do you think the American people care? No, not much. This is probably still a niche issue with the majority of Americans. Just the process and procedure is just too much. I shot a show this morning with Coleman Hughes, and he's a smart dude. But I feel like even he was like, oh, I feel like Doja's mission is fine. And it's like, what about the legality? And he's like, I don't really know anything about the legality. And it's like, okay. Like it seems like most people just don't care. Not to not taking anything away from it. I just feel like most people just don't give a fuck about all the process and procedure. So, yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Have said that some of the Trump actions, early actions, put a halt to them. J.D. Vance said that judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power. You're a constitutional law expert. Ultimately, at the end, if the courts say that the administration is violating the law, should they comply with the court's demands?
Well, of course, the branches have to respect our constitutional order, but there's a lot of game yet to be played. Those will be appealed. We've got to go through the whole process, and we'll get to the final analysis. In the interim, I will say I agree wholeheartedly with Vice President J.D. Vance, my friend, because he's right. What they're doing in the executive branch, I've been asked so many times, aren't you uncomfortable with this? No, I'm not, because when Congress, for example, appropriates dollars for the executive branch to use, we build in, not only in the spirit of the law, but in the letter of the law, a broad amount of discretion for how that is used. There is a presupposition in America that the commander-in-chief is going to be a good steward of taxpayer dollars.
Why can't we just Like, maybe they'll do it here, or maybe it doesn't matter. This is just some fucking nerd shit. No one cares. Can somebody press him on this? There's a wide amount of discretion. What do you mean when you say that? So do you mean that the president of the United States could unilaterally kill an office authorized and funded by Congress? Can you answer that question? Like, can I get a yes or no on that? Because, like, this is such a bullshit ass word game. Like, yes, the president is expected to be a good steward. Yes, they're expected to run the office, you know, with the full faith that Congress has granted him. But clearly that's not what's happening here. USAID is being shut down unilaterally by the president of the United States. USAID is an independent office authorized by Congress. These two positions are not congruent. What you're saying is just you're paying ideological lip service to some position that nobody is having right now. This is not the president's position.
The commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, is going to command those within his branch of government to do the right thing by the people, to be accountable, to not fund drag shows in Middle Eastern countries or South America, to not waste our taxpayer dollars. And that's what has been uncovered. And that's why we and the people are applauding what's happening right now in the new administration, because they've taken that seriously. And they're doing it. The forensic audits, effectively, that Doge and Elon Musk are leading. I met with Elon yesterday about this to get an update. And to me, it's very exciting what they're able to do, because what Elon and the Doge effort is doing right now is what Congress has been unable to do in recent years, because the agencies have hidden some of this from us. You know, there's a lot of oversight activity that goes on around here all the time, you all know, but when duly elected representatives of the people request information to find all of these abuses, and it's not...
There's that fashy talk again, the people.
...turned over to us, what it takes is an actual audit of the systems and the files themselves that are often hidden from Congress. That's what you're seeing right now. And that's why this is so exciting. They're uncovering things that we have known intuitively have been there, but we couldn't prove it. Now the proof is being provided, and no one can argue the counter to that. So stay tuned. There's a lot more to come. And I think the courts should take a step back and allow these processes to play out. What we're doing is good and right for the American people. What Doge is doing is making sure that your taxpayer dollars, all of us, are spent in the way that they're intended to be spent, and that they're in America's interest, and they're financially responsible with the precious taxpayers' money. We have a $36 trillion federal debt, and we have got to get a hold of these things. You're going to see it reflected in the reconciliation package that comes forward. You're going to see it reflected in appropriations as we go forward, and you're going to see it in these efforts to cut the waste, fraud, and abuse. And we think the final number on that is going to be substantial and a game changer in Washington for the country. So we'll have a lot.
The Inspector General of the U.S. Agency for International Development was fired Tuesday, a day after his office released a report detailing the negative impact of the Trump admin's dramatic downsizing of the agency, according to a letter obtained by NBC News. Paul Martin, who had been USAID's Inspector General since 2023, was notified of his dismissal by email. On behalf of President Donald J. Trump, I'm writing to inform you that your position as Inspector General of the United States Agency for International Development is terminated effective immediately. Trent Morris, Deputy Director of the Office of Presidential Personnel, informed Martin in an email obtained by NBC News. Thank you for your service. So the Office of Inspector General, this is the watchdog that makes sure that there's no, the waste, fraud, abuse. Top ICE official fired as well? Wait, really? The report by USAID's Office of the Inspector General, led by Martin, warned of the dangers associated with the gap in staffing, including a lack of oversight that may leave the agency susceptible to inadvertently funding entities or salaries of individuals associated with U.S.-designated terrorist organizations. It also described the uncertainty surrounding the waivers for life-saving assistance issued by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, which it said put more than $489 million of food assistance at ports, in transit, and in warehouses at risk of spoilage, unanticipated storage needs, and diversion. Martin informed his staff of his removal shortly after he received the termination notice. It's been a true honor and pleasure to walk alongside my OIG colleagues around the world as we sought to provide independent and aggressive oversight of USAID programs and personnel, Martin wrote in the email. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And as always, thank you for what you do and how you do it. 2 of the top officials at U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement have been removed from their jobs amid frustrations among Trump officials that officers aren't ramping up arrests and deportations fast enough to meet the president's goals, and that some immigrant detainees have been released, according to 3 people with knowledge of the move. ICE staff were informed in an email Tuesday that Russell Hott and Peter Berg, the top 2 officials in the enforcement division of ICE, have been reassigned, according to the 3 people who spoke in the condition of anonymity to describe the internal memo. Nice. And then, in case you weren't aware, Jesus, fuck. I keep saying that they want to take over Greenland and rename it Red, White, and Blue Land. But it's a random bill that nobody gives a fuck about. Oh, fuck. I don't really know. What the fuck was I going to say? I don't even remember. I don't know, man. It's pretty, it's a pretty wacky time. What percent of this shit is just flooding the zone bullshit meant to distract? I mean, flooding the zone for what? I don't even know, man. What are we flooding the zone with and what for? Did you see Google Maps change the fucking Gulf of America shit? Holy fuck. Could you suggest somewhere to read more about the USAID stuff for someone like myself who doesn't have much time in the day to really get into it? No, actually, I can't. I wish I could, but like, it's just one of those things where you either like you have some understanding of like how all the government agencies work, or you don't. And if you don't, it's just like so much to catch up on. Nobody will give a fuck. Like USAID is a department that's created. Ultimately, it's authorized by Congress to exist on its own to do foreign aid. Its money comes from Congress. That's how the law works. Trump doesn't like it because he's trying to figure out desperately ways to save money because there's absolutely no fucking chance that we actually make any budgetary goals this year. And so he's desperately searching for anything he can cut, and he thinks USAID seems like an easy target. But, yeah. Good stuff. Anything else happened today or yesterday that we missed? Jesus. I bet that me, Ethan Klein, the capitalist, pays our housekeeper more than Hassan. Ours has health insurance, vision, dental, 401k, paid salary, and sick days. Also a very good salary. I'll donate $100,000 to charity if Hassan Kabubi pays his housekeeper more than me. Damn! Yikes. Did you see that Mike from PA called Ethan housekeeper's lawyer to advise them? I didn't, but I doubt he did. That guy doesn't know fuck all about anything, so. Is this woman very small, or are these rabbits incredibly huge? Or is this how big a rabbit normally is?
I'm not going to go quietly into the night. I'm a fighter. I'm not going to do this pretend whataboutism.
Can we hit the speed up?
And as long as I draw breath,
fuck.
My loyalty is to the Republic.
Oh my God, we got
My
it.
loyalty is to the country. So you don't gotta worry about that. So when the time comes and we need to organize protests, legitimate, peaceful protests against the regime, I'll be right there with you. When the time comes and we need to take concrete action, call the right people, massive amounts of pressure on our congresspeople, peaceful means, legitimate means, I'll be there with you. But I'm just one guy.
What the fuck? Is this real?
Ei, pessoal, será que esse é o maior coelho do
This is a troll. This is not real.
mundo? O que você acha? Comente aí. Ei, pessoal.
This is fake.
Here's what I can promise you.
True. Oh, nice. And then Trump, I think, said through Doge that all work from home employees have to go back to work for who the fuck knows what reason, but they got to go back to the office. So apparently every single federal employee is driving back to work based. Rap is not music, and I die on this hill. The rap is not music crowd when fucking Tom McDonald releases a new fucking album. Where's the do-rags and the fucking everything else? God, get me out of here. Didn't he do a song with Roseanne? Daddy's Home. Oh my God.
We won, you mad, it's done, too bad, boo-hoo, so sad. We won, you mad, you cry, we laugh, we wave the flag. Thank God that we're back, couldn't take another 4 years. That's a wrap, I can take a bath in your tears. That's a fact, you got lipstick all on your beard. You're a man, that is cap, cap.
This, yeah, reminder, Tom McDonald is a Canadian.
Cap. You pretending you're accepting, that's an act. You hear pat. If you want our freedom, come and take it back. Bet you can. We won, you mad, it's done, too bad. Boo-hoo, so sad. We won, you mad, you cry, we laugh, we wave the flag.
They try to cancel me and say that I'm a racist. Got a mean hook, they can't get me with that jab. Trying to take away my right to go and say this. Well, listen up, cause this man is going bad. With the facts. Why they trying to turn Becky into Dan? You get pat. Screw Eminem, I'm Roseanne.
We won, you mad, it's done, too bad. Boo-hoo, so sad. We won, you mad, you cry, we laugh, we wave the flag. If you mad about it, go and cry about it. Shave your
Okay, that's all I can handle.
Do you have a jerk mate?
What? Define that.
Somebody who goons with you. Someone who will edge with you no matter what.
I got plenty.
Well, name them.
LeBron and Ninja sometimes.
You never take anything serious, Will. Is it because you're afraid to make a jerk mate and lose them? Or is it because all you see is every negative thing 10 miles down the road?
Where's your jerk mate? You want to talk about jerk mates? Where is he?
Dead. By Guna's side, it was the first ever case of it. But the takeaway from his case is that you shouldn't feel guilt for gooning, and instead should embrace it. I should have told you sooner that Nautica was gone, Will. It's not your fault.
Am I missing all the... What is Nautica? I don't... What is Ninja? Are these references I'm missing? Oh, Ninja the streamer. Oh, fuck me. Who's Nautica? Nautica's the dude who killed himself. Which one? I feel like there's a lot of dudes that have killed themselves. Oh, the guy that was jerking off in the thing. Oh, never mind. Okay, okay. Just got a tip from a guy at the FAA. I'll never believe we're still getting new government contracts. While all the contracts that have Department of Education, USA, and other agencies are being nuked for more of it. Wow, Space Exploration Technologies Corp. That sounds a lot like SpaceX. SpaceX. True. Oh, shit. That's what I was going to say. The Eric Adams stuff. He's free. You guys thought he was donezo, when in reality... the Justice Department dropped everything. You guys thought he was crazy for flying to Mar-a-Lago to bow to God Emperor Trump. Eric Adams, this is the mayor of New York, who is under federal indictment, I think, right? For corruption charges. Well, September 2024, a series of investigations into Adams' administration emerged. On September 25th, Adams was indicted on federal charges of bribery, fraud, soliciting foreign campaign donations, and soliciting foreign campaign donations. On September 26th, the case was unsealed, revealing the 5 charges: bribery, conspiracy, fraud, and 2 counts of soliciting illegal foreign campaign donations. The allegations for which Adams was indicted began in 2014. He's accused of receiving luxury travel and other benefits to people from Turkey. This included Adams pressuring the New York City Fire Department to open a Turkish consular building without a fire inspection. In order to cover up his misconduct, allegedly, Adams created and instructed others to make false paper trails indicating that he actually paid for these trips in full. He was arraigned in federal court on September 27th. But that's okay. He's good now. Thank God. Oh, nice. Is he doing that? Goes to the right?
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for having us to Gracie Mansion.
Thank you. Thank you. Historical place, you know.
And you live here?
Yes, upstairs there's a residency, but, you know, I get back to Brooklyn from time to time, my place of love.
I kind of like this. I read through the indictment today on the way here. I read it the day it came out. I have no reason to suck up to you. I thought it was ridiculous. It was flimsier even than I remember. You were indicted for accepting upgraded flights and for allowing the Turkish president to occupy his own building in Manhattan. The whole thing's crazy, actually, if you read it. What was your reaction when you found out you were being indicted?
Well, I know how I live my life. You know, former police officer. The one rule my staff will always tell you, he says all the time, follow the rules, follow law, follow law. And so when I heard of this investigation, I was like, what? What could I have done that would cause what I was seeing? And then when I read it, I was like, where the bags of cash?
Well, that's what I thought.
Where were the...
Just a heads up, I don't know particularly which flights you're talking about, but like international flights can run you, if you go first class, can be in excess of 20 grand, depending upon what first class we're talking about. Some of them are known to be very luxurious. But I think that if you want to do first class, I think even from JFK to Heathrow, from New York City to London, I think those first class flights will be in excess of like 5 grand, right? What's the cheapest that you can do first class round trip from JFK to London? These are quite expensive flights. Like, it's not like, oh my God, you got like an $800 flight. If you're going all the way to like Dubai or all the way to Turkey, this is like 10, 20, 30 plus $1,000 flights. These are super, super. Turkish Airlines first class. Like, these aren't just like big seats sometimes. These will be like, this guy said don't do it. These will be like a fucking massive massive fucking first class. Like, I don't want to say suite. Somebody in chat said suite. I don't want to say suite. I don't know for all the fucking airlines. Oh, damn. Maybe Adams got scammed, though. These people are saying. What are what are supposed to be the really nice ones? Is it the Dubai first class ones? Or the Japan first class ones? Oh, it might be these.
Today, I'm flying Emirates for 24 hours in their first class suites, starting in London and flying for over 10,000 miles to the other side of the planet. So long that we'll be stopping in Dubai mid-route to stay in the world's tallest building. The next leg gets even better, where I'll fly in what I can only describe as a hotel room in the sky, priced at a mind-blowing $10,000. You'll be joining me every step of the way, from showering at 38,000 feet to hanging out in the onboard Sky Lounge, drinking vintage Dom. With that, let's pick up our story in London, England.
Wow.
There's secret stash somewhere. And what many people did not read, they saw the presentation that was given, and it was, you walk away with saying, oh my God, what did this guy do? But when you read it and you saw that I didn't open the consulate, I asked the FDNY, can you look into the inspection to get the inspection done? And so it's... So
just to be clear for people who haven't read the indictment, you are accused of being bribed by the Turkish government to allow the Turkish president or prime minister, pardon my not remembering...
Yeah, to allow the Consul General...
my apologies.
...to get an inspection to determine if they could pass a fire inspection. And if they couldn't do it, you see in the indictment, I clearly stated to manage the expectation if it couldn't be done.
So you get a call from the Turkish government and they say Turkish officials want to occupy their own consulate, which is being built in New York, hasn't received a fire inspection yet. You call FDNY and say, hey, can you do, the government wants to occupy their own building. I'm the mayor, is another country, they want to occupy their own building. Can you go ahead and do the fire inspection? There's no evidence that the building was a fire trap or out of compliance with any fire regulation. Is this correct?
Exactly.
Right. So it's a weird thing to be indicted for.
No. And not only weird to be indicted for, when you look at, being a former law enforcement person, pushing public safety, living your life a certain way, it was painful. It was extremely painful to go through this, millions of dollars in legal bills, and just not being able to respond. The hardest part about this for me, anyone that's followed my career, they know I'm a straight fighter, and this is the first time in my life that you have to sit here and be punched on, and you have to allow your attorney to fight the fight. I know how to fight, and I like to fight to defend myself, and not being able to do that is hard as hell.
Well, the weird thing is, from the Washington perspective, where I'm from, is that you're under indictment for allowing foreign governments, Turkey, not North Korea, by the way, or Iran, but like a member of NATO, allowing them to upgrade your flights. Pretty much every member of Congress takes, almost every single 535 House and Senate takes flights to other countries hosted by foreign governments and are given, in effect, tens of thousands of dollars of goods and services by those governments every single time. Upgrades, police protection, motorcades. No one's ever been indicted for that. That's less than what you did. Are you aware of that?
Yes, yes, I am, and I believe that I have a great attorney, and I cannot tell you how there's a desire again of just want to push back on the narrative that has been put out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone who reads the indictment will come away confused, and that's kind of why I was so anxious to talk to you. What was this? I mean, you're a Democrat, lifelong. You are mayor of the biggest city in the United States. It's an overwhelmingly Democrat city. You're one of the most important Democratic officials in the country. You were indicted by Joe Biden's Justice Department.
Eric Adams, the defendant, compounded his games from the straw contributions by using them to defraud New York City and steal public funds. New York City has a matching funds program that matches small dollar contributions from individual city residents with up to 8 times their amount in public funds to give New Yorkers a greater voice in elections. Adams' campaigns applied for matching funds based on known straw donations, fraudulently obtaining as much as $2,000 in public funds for each illegal contribution. Adams and those working at his direction falsely certified compliance with applicable campaign finance regulations, despite Adams' repeated acceptance of straw donations, relying on the concealed nature of these illegal contributions to falsely portray his campaign as law-abiding. As a result of those false certifications, Adams' 2021 mayoral campaign received more than $10 million in public funds. Jesus. In particular, a senior official in the Turkish diplomatic establishment, the Turkish official who facilitated many straw donations to Adams, also arranged for Adams and his companions to receive free or discounted travel on Turkey's national airline, the Turkish airline, which is owed in significant part by the Turkish government to destinations including France, China, Sri Lanka, India, Hungary, and Turkey itself. September 2021, the Turkish official told Eric Adams, the defendant, that it was his turn to repay the Turkish official by pressuring the New York City Fire Department, FDNY, to facilitate the opening of a new Turkish consular building, a 36-story skyscraper without a fire inspection, in time for a high-profile visit by Turkey's president. At the time, the building would have failed an FDNY inspection in exchange for free travel and other travel-related bribes in 2021 and 2022 arranged by the Turkish official. Adams stayed as instructed. Because of Adams' pressure on the FDNY official responsible for the FDNY's assessment of the skyscraper's fire safety was told that he would lose his job if he failed to acquiesce, and after Adams intervened, the skyscraper opened as requested by the Turkish official. These are, now to be fair, these are all just indictments, right? Maybe who knows what the actual court case would have turned out, but I guess now nobody knows. This fucking guy. Was it Tom McDonald made a song about hitting his exes? Is this true? Because if so, based. Just kidding. All right. I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully at 2 or 3. I think a Pierce thing at 1, so be careful. Don't die. Stay safe. We live in a great country. Everything's going to be A-okay, guys, okay? Connections? Oh, fuck. Madman, Hubbub, Night Mat, Bud, Tug, Jack, Wrench, Block, Jerk, Strap, Knee, Yank, and Bolster. Jesus. You can tug something, jerk something, yank something, or jack? No. Block? A jack. A car jack? A wrench, a jack, a block? Oh, wrench it. You can wrench it away, maybe, yeah? Okay. Mat. Knee. Pads. Like a knee pad, a man pad, mat pad. A block. Oh man. No shot. No shot. No, please don't do one away. Fuck! Like you can have a car jack, or you can put it on a block, or you can use a strap to hold something up, or like you could bolster something up. Bud, mad, hub, bub, strap, a knee, maybe? This is not it. Oh no. Strap it. Jacket. Bullshit. Oh, block it. No, this doesn't even make sense. I just wasted a guess. A bolster, jack, strap. Bud, mad, hub, bub, knee, man. Fuck, what the fuck, dude? I don't fucking know. What the fuck? This is mind fucking me. Bud. Like a buddy? What the fuck? I don't know and I don't care. Don't know, don't care. What? Buster? Yoga accessories and a cap. Wait, what? Buster? What's up, bub? Bud? Hey, Jack? Man? Okay, I never would have gotten this. He's a buster. Okay, and then yoga. You can have a yoga block? Okay. I heard of a yoga mat. Strap, I guess? Bolster? And block, I don't know what these are. And then a hubcap, a kneecap. What's a madcap? What's a madcap? I would have never gotten this. All right. Well, be careful, don't die. I love you.